Let's go. Let's get it.
Hey, y'all, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Walls of Wellness. Yes, this is a trick or a treat, but I'm going to say it's a treat because I am here with Abigail Sikes, forgiveness specialist, and Danielle Lawrence. She is back in the house. Y'all request, she has returned. Y'all requested both of them, and I was able to really give you a treat because we were able to find the time for the three of us all to come together. So don't get scared. It is Halloween, but we're here to help. We promise.
Right.
So I'm calling in a healing this evening. All right. I am trusting and believing that this conversation is going to lead people to and through the healing process. And so that's my 70 times 7. We're going to get at least 70 times 7 people that are going to go through this and find something helpful.
That's right.
So let's start out with some introductions first. Good evening, everyone who's joining us. Please feel free to put where you're joining us from in the chat room. And Abigail, I'm going to start with you. A brief introduction about yourself, about your book, and then D Law. That's what just keeps coming out. So that's what it's going to be tonight. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
All
what
right.
it is.
Go ahead,
Um,
Abigail.
as stated, my name is Abigail Sikes. I am a registered nurse over 25 years now and started my business for giving gifts back in 2018. And the goal of Forgiving Gifts is to really share and coach individuals through healing when they're going through some things of the past that they just can't seem to let go of. I found myself in that same situation and really needed tools and steps. I knew I needed to forgive. I knew that was important. I knew it was
Mhm,
biblical, but I didn't know how. So
mhm,
I was blessed with steps on how to begin that process and really work with individuals on how to do that. My book is called Purposeful Healing. It is my story of how this whole process began, what were my unforgiving issues, and really talk to individuals about, hey, I did it, you can do it too. And why is it important? What are the benefits of it? And
mhm.
so, yeah, so that's
All
me.
right. All right. And come on, Danielle.
Hey, how y'all doing tonight? As Dr. Walls said, my name is Danielle Lawrence, aka Danielle Lawrence, aka D Law.
Mhm,
I am an author, speaker, and a life coach. I deal with emotional management. It's one of those things that I had to learn for myself because I did not know the rule of navigating through my emotions. So my ideal reasoning of actually doing emotional management and also writing a book about finding emotional maturity through emotional awareness is because I want people to actually know that there's freedom in knowing how to really navigate through your emotions.
mhm,
Emotions, we're all going to have them. Pain, we're all going to have them. However, the way that we actually navigate through them is is the choice, whether it's going to be a healthy way or unhealthy way. My goal and my focus is getting you to learn how to gather yourself emotionally on a healthy way so you can learn how to not only develop yourself but also develop better relationships because we attract what we are.
mm. Oh, you just gonna throw the mic down? You're not gonna drop it. You're just gonna take it, throw it
Absolutely.
down at that point. See, she already done started, y'all. All right. As always, if you are new to the show, please be sure to hit that subscribe button on this YouTube side of life at Ask Dr. Walls 525. And if you are new, make sure you get your pen and paper ready. See, I came ready. Y'all know I came. I got my questions and stuff up at the top, and we're gonna get this party started. So, Abigail, I'm gonna start with you. This
Okay.
whole idea of forgiveness. Let's just start out with some definitions.
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask the same question to both of you. How do you define forgiveness?
Okay, so forgiveness to me is when you're able to let go of some past hurt and resentment and find a healthier way to live.
Mhm,
It is being able to deal with situations. We all have situations that occur and throughout our lives, and it's not just one event. They are a multiple of things that can happen. And forgiveness is being able to navigate, being able to as Danielle has said, being able to work with your emotions.
mhm.
Being able to get through those negative experiences so you can find a healthier way to live.
All right.
Yes.
Danielle, go ahead. What's your definition?
I'm actually just going to read an insert, if you don't mind, from my book.
I would like that. And could you hold the book up so people could see it?
I would definitely do that.
Yes.
You be like, listen, I thought you'll never ask. That's it right
There we
there.
go. Bring it down just a tad. Bring it down just a
Oh,
tad.
Just
Down. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right.
right there.
Yeah, so people can get that screenshot and they can run on over to
Amazon.
Amazon and get it
Mhm.
for themselves and for others. And Abigail, when it comes back around to you, you hold your book up too.
Please, ma'am, because
All
I need
right.
that book.
Come
okay.
on.
Yours also.
For forgiveness, I wrote insert in my book that says this: forgiveness is the solution that releases you from the feelings of anger, guilt, and shame. It subtracts the need for revenge and adds the power of freedom and opens you to clarity, self-love, and compassion. Once you forgive you and others, you then walk with a free spirit instead of a heavy heart. And
Mm,
that's really my definition of forgiveness. It's releasing what you're internalizing.
mm-hmm.
Because once we internalize the pain, if it doesn't move, it keeps us stuck.
Come
So
on.
we continue to walk through life heavy, trying to figure out how we going to get out this box.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can even move out the box.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So forgiveness is not the freedom for the other person. The freedom of forgiving is for you.
100%. And that goes along. I was letting someone know, Vanessa Newton, who is an incredible author and illustrator. So please definitely check her work out. I did a interview with her on my Planner's Knowledge vodcast. Her name is Vanessa Newton, and we've actually seen some of her work. I have to find out if it's happening this year. Last year, she was one of the highlighted authors in Target where
Mm.
her illustrations were on the wrapping paper and all the different
Oh, wow.
holiday
Mhm.
items that were available. So that was really exciting. But she wrote to me when I was telling her about the show, and she said, we need this. We need to be healed and we need to let it go because unforgiveness does not serve us. The energy does not need to be held in ourselves as we have enough to deal with. Forgiveness is not for the person asking or needing forgiveness. It is freeing us so that we can be our best selves and move on and whatever is to go. So I 100% agree with that as
Right.
well. And as people are listening, I want you to take some time and I want you to write down what resonates with you with these definitions of forgiveness. There you see and hear the overlap, but there's also some different pieces in there for each of us. And I want you to also think about what is your definition of forgiveness, and jot that down and see what is in alignment with you now, because sometimes we're holding definitions that aren't in alignment with us anymore, but
Right.
we're still functioning out of them. The
Right.
definition of forgiveness that I use with my clients says forgiveness is the conscious decision to let go of anger and resentment
Mhm.
towards someone who has harmed you. It involves changing your feelings, attitudes, and behaviors and expressing compassion towards the person who wronged you. Forgiveness is not about accepting what happened or stopping to be angry. So, again, it's that letting go of anger and that resentment. And it is a conscious decision, it's not a passive choice. So,
Right.
when I think of that scripture that talks about 70 times seven, right, it is that intentional, deliberate, I'm going to keep working on this. Danielle,
Right.
what's going through your mind?
Well, it's really like you said, a process. And I learned with forgiveness when I had to actually, and I still go, because life doesn't stop testing us in
Come on.
forgiveness,
Come
because
on.
we trying to walk in freedom, or we
Mhm,
are, I should say, walking in freedom. I
mhm,
know for me, it's a formula with three components for me. The
mm,
first one is prayer. The second one is compassion. And the third one is understanding. And
mhm.
how that works is I have to go to now. I'm gonna be honest with you. Now, my human side is still human, so my initial response may not be what I'm going to do with the formula.
Got it.
I'm just going to be honest with you.
We appreciate the honesty.
When I bring it down and I go in my prayer closet,
Yes.
and I pray, the first thing I just be honest with the God. I'll be like, I'm hurt.
Mm-hmm.
The crazy thing is, as I express to God how hurt or frustrated or just, just in distress of how I feel, then what begins to happen is a healing starts taking place. But that takes that's consistency. It's not going to happen the first day you tell God you hurt. Let me just be honest, because we're still human. The thoughts still going to shoot through our mind throughout the day or whatever have you, depending on the severity of what happened. Because if you're in a real severe situation, you could wake up with it and go to bed with it. Let me just be clear with that.
Yes.
So as I begin to pray, what happens is the hurt a lot of times then begins to turn to concern. It's crazy. So as it begins to turn to concern, then the reflection of my pain, now that I'm beginning to release, becomes the deflection of me now beginning to pray for them. And as I begin to ask for their healing, because now it doesn't come, we get frustrated in the why. Why did this person do this to me?
Yes.
But as you begin to get healed and you begin to pray, it doesn't, you stop asking God why, because one, he's starting to dip in a peace that passes all understanding. So now it's not about me understanding what they did. Now it's me saying, wait a minute, what really happened to them for them to do it to me? I just actually was the victim that took place with. I'm just an individual. It could have been somebody else, because I'm not the first person. In most cases, victims have people who prey on people. They do that with a plethora of people. You just are part of that scope, if I may say that.
Yeah.
So as I begin to pray, then it goes from why to now, you know what, God, heal them. I'm concerned about their heart. I'm concerned about their soul. So they don't do it again. And as that begins to happen, understanding comes. But the crazy thing is, the understanding doesn't come from the offense. The understanding comes from the in particular person of what they went through to get to that place. And that's where all my release, that's where all my release begins to come through that prayer. Then, like I said, from the prayer to the compassion, to the understanding, and that's where I release. And that is the cycle. That's my cycle.
That's it. All right, come on, Abigail, what you got?
Oh, that was powerful. That was so good.
I know. I felt like I was in church. You know what I was getting ready to go grab?
That tambourine.
Y'all know I was coming. Y'all know I was coming with it.
It is, and I agree. And it is a process. It doesn't happen, as you said, it doesn't happen overnight. For me, it took 7 years, and constantly praying, going to my prayer closet, getting down on my knees, like, Lord, help me. And it was until a point where I just started to break. And I said, and as you said, you go to bed with it on your mind, you get up with it on your mind.
Right.
And that's where I was. And that's where I lived for 7 years, until the point I thought, well, you know what, I might as well just give up. I can't do this, And so the Lord just, he gave me this whole process of forgiveness. This entire process, he gave it to me. And I talk about it in my book.
Come on, here we go. Hold it up. That's right. Come on, y'all. Get your screen set.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Purposeful healing. Yes.
And it's available on Amazon. But I talk about it in my book. The process that he gave me is that I just remembered one night, I was just like, I just can't take it anymore. And he said, you know what? This is what I want you to do. I want you to put a forgiveness program together. And I want you to start it off in the church. And then involve the children, because it's so important for children to start too, because they have issues. And I was talking to some kids that I mentor on yesterday, and they started to share some stories at that age, at young age, of some things that they've been holding on to from even being bullied, to experiences with friends. And it's just so important for us to be able to figure out how to let that go, And so the Lord just gave this to me, and he said, this is what I want you to do. And he actually gave me the steps, So I have like 12 steps.
Oh, wow.
And the first one, as you stated, Danielle, is pray. And that is to pray without ceasing, because it's a process and it doesn't happen overnight. So I tell individuals, begin with prayer. If that's something, and if you believe in God, then to start with him. It's always starting with him. Okay. And so then the next thing is to acknowledge the hurt. What happened? Because a lot of times we don't acknowledge what happened. Right. We don't want to acknowledge it. It could be, a failed relationship. It could be traumatic experience, whatever the situation is. acknowledge it. Be okay with saying, this is what happened. And that starts the healing process. And then we have to just be honest with our feelings. I'm feeling sad. A lot of times I don't care. I don't want to deal with it. Be honest with your feelings. If you're sad, say you're sad. And then the goal is to do what? Is to seek help. The next thing we want to do is that a therapist? Is that a coach? Is that a friend, a mother, somebody that you can trust? So you want to be able to seek help. And then acknowledge, we also have to acknowledge our contribution, right? Like, how do we contribute to the situation? Right. Sometimes we have a tendency to hurt, come back, retaliate harder and worse than, or even along the same lines as to what was done to us. So acknowledging the hurt. And then the next thing we'd like to tell individuals to do is release negative energy. Figure out how to introduce those healthy ways into your life, instead of introducing drugs and alcohol and things that would help you to, that would encourage you to heal ineffectively, putting in those ineffective coping mechanisms. Right. Because then when you do that, that only leads to like addiction and disease. And you think about like cancer and heart disease and diabetes. So there's really benefits to being able to letting go. And what's the point of all of this is so that we can give you the benefits. And I tell individuals, sometimes it's really difficult for individuals to talk about the word forgiveness and shy away from it. They don't want to deal with it. But the purpose is so that you can understand there are benefits to it, to actually letting go. And what are those benefits? How can that really positively affect you in your life and your way of living?
Y'all got recipes right now. You want the short microwave recipe, you got 4 steps from Danielle. You want the longer slow cooker, you got 12 steps from Abigail. Both of them going to lead you to the same place. Right. And you want a powerhouse, I suggest you do both. Right. You get the concentrated and lay that together. I put the links to both books in the chat room. As they mentioned, they are both available on Amazon. Ladies, would you please hold your books up again so that they can see the covers, so that they recognize them as soon as they see them? I will make sure, if I didn't already do it, sometimes I'm ahead of myself, I will make sure that the links to both books are in the write-up over on the YouTube side of life. Ask Dr. Walls 525. All right, all good. Everybody had enough time to take a screenshot or a picture so they know what they get in themselves and their loved ones. They look, I had totally missed this. Sorry, Kelly. Back before Kelly said tambourine time. She know. And just to shout out some people, Nicole Street said, "Hey, ladies."
Hey.
Leslie Young said, "Hi, ladies." Regina Goodrich said, "Hello, everyone." So, and we have even more people listening. Y'all feel free to chime in on the chat. Say hello. Say where you're tuning in from, your thoughts, add your definitions. We appreciate the participation. During Danielle, I think it was during one of our episodes, we started talking about this forgiveness loop, right? And this kind of goes to what you were saying, how it can be on your mind when you go to bed, when you wake up in the morning, years afterwards, you think that you have forgiven something, and then you see the person or you hear their name and the grumble rumble happens inside of your stomach and brain. And you notice your tone of voice done changed and your tongue done got a little sword like. And it's like, dang, I thought I had forgiven that already. And so as I started thinking about the 70 times 7, I know the scripture is referring to something else, but I started thinking, right, we do sometimes have to keep toiling and laboring through this forgiveness process, because to both of your points, as you're being honest, my phrase is take honest inventory of all the various ways in which you were hurt and which you experienced violation. You have to work through each of them. Sometimes some of them you're able to go through a lot faster, and some of them other ones you got to Keep digging, keep going. Danielle, what's going through your mind?
That's absolutely true. The problem is that, or not even the problem. The thing is that when we're going through forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
or we think that we're through forgiveness, it seems like God will always test the forgiveness. Being honest with you.
Mhm.
Start
So
tap dancing on that little forgiveness spot.
yeah, like
Right?
he'll just wow, there you go.
That's right.
It's how you respond. And the crazy thing is, it's not always how you externally respond.
Yes.
Sometimes it's the internal response.
Yes.
And he's
Mhm.
trying to see, are you really washed? Are you
Yes.
really cleansed?
Come on.
And in most cases, it will be the individual that got you there.
Mm.
Because when you're going through forgiveness, that person's still not free.
Mm-hmm.
You sometimes still have to face the offender.
Mm-hmm.
And if the offender is not free, you still got to go through yourself and say,
Mm-hmm.
where am I?
Mm.
These are the questions you have to now ask. Where am I? What
Mm-hmm.
I've learned about forgiveness is the more free you become, the more discerning you become.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you have the compassion because you can see with clarity.
Yes.
Forgiveness puts you into a blur. It distorts the way we think because we're still kind of on pins and needles on if we're going to get hurt again.
Yes.
So we go back into the box.
Yes.
And anytime we're in a box, that means we're not seeing outside the box,
Mm.
which means we're just looking at sides and angles, but not
Mhm.
being able to see what comes after it.
Come on.
Mhm.
Come on.
So with forgiveness, you continually, that's why I say it's a cycle. You
Mm.
don't, because you're walking in forgiveness, it's like being delivered and set free. You could
Yes.
be delivered, but not set free.
Yes.
It's the same thing with forgiveness. You
That's right.
can know how to forgive, but not be clear of the forgiveness. This is
Mm.
why the tests come. This is why the tests have to come to keep continually reminding you where there are parts of you that still have not released in
Yes.
that specific place in your, in your soul or your
Yes.
heart.
Yes. I'm going to pull this up just because it falls
Mhm.
in line with what you're saying. And then, Abigail, I'm going to come to you. And then I have a message for you, Miss Danielle. All right. So this question is, can unforgiveness hold you hostage? That sounds like what you're saying.
Absolutely. Hostage, listen, you're shackled.
Mm-hmm.
You're imprisoned.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens, you're now in emotional entrapment.
Mm.
Mhm.
You
Mm.
can, if you are,
That's a book title for you. Emotional entrapment. Come on.
when you're in emotional entrapment, again, you cannot see clear. And this is the problem with unforgiveness.
Yes.
You're having an unforgiveness towards one individual, but because you have now trapped this pain internally,
Yes.
you don't even know that you're responding to other people with that same hurt.
Yes.
Mhm.
That could be your children.
Yes.
That could be your spouse. That
Yes.
could be your mother. It could be your father. It could be
Yes.
anybody. They then become the collateral damage of you still being in that hostage situation.
Come on.
Because if they do something that's
Mm-hmm.
reminiscent subconsciously, you're going to subconsciously give them that response.
That's right. You dropped the
Mhm.
bomb on me. Right. Go ahead, Abigail. We're gonna pass
Um,
that mic. It's hot.
yes, it,
It's
it,
a
it
hot
just,
mic.
it's a hot mic. It really
Yeah,
is. And then just to kind of answer that question is unforgiveness, and unforgiveness can hold you stuck,
Yes.
inability to move forward. Sometimes we are trying to figure out, why haven't we been able to move on in healthy relationships?
Yes.
yeah,
And it's because we're sometimes carrying the baggage of previous relationship and the hurt and
Mm-hmm.
the pain that we've actually endured, and that we're carrying in us. And so then we're stuck.
I
Yes.
And
love
we're
it.
wondering sometimes, why can't, I want to move on in my life and the Lord's not blessing me. Lord, why are you not blessing me?
Mm-hmm.
Because the Lord don't bless mess. Then if you are in a position where you are not going to be good to something he's going to give you, he's not going to give it to you.
Come on.
So unforgiveness absolutely can keep you stuck and hold you in
Mm.
bondage. It can
Mm.
prevent you from moving on and where you want to be, where you need to be, whether it's, having that job you want or going back to school.
Mm-hmm.
Unforgiveness can have you so emotionally tied into a situation till you can't get up in the morning. You can't move forward.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's so important. And when you think about like unforgiveness, I'm sorry, my phone's ringing.
Those are divine exclamation points. Like you
Yeah.
hitting it, you hitting the bell.
You
Go
are.
ahead.
Yeah.
And and your and how do you know that you've forgiven something,
Mm.
And when you think about, Danielle was talking about how the Lord would test you, and of course we know the test is for us. He already knows the answer. He already knows whether we've forgiven the situation or not.
Mm-hmm.
He's just trying to bring it to our attention where you think you may have forgiven the situation, you have not,
Come on.
and so then in order for you to move on and to be able to be delivered, to be saved, to be set free, is that you have to be able to let go of this. And so he brings that back to our attention.
Yeah.
And again, it's as Danielle said, it's about how we respond to it.
Yeah.
Being in that environment where, our heart rates may go up and, our palms get sweaty. Now we're faced with this situation again. How do I let go of this?
Yeah.
And so it is so important for us to be able to just deal with those situations and be able to let go. And so that's why it's so important to understand that forgiveness can hold you in a place that's not healthy for you.
All right. Come on, Danielle. You looking like Noah Lyles waiting for the baton. I'm going to pass it to you. Come on.
The thing about it is, oh God, Abigail, that was so good. But what I've learned about forgiveness in the hostage part is that a lot of times when I speak to certain people, and I speak to people all the time, they'll be like, I'm protecting my peace. But when I speak to them, I'd be like, are you part of that war? Because sometimes we protect what we're influencing.
Come on.
So if I have to protect my peace, it's something in me because let's go there. Peace is not supposed to be protected because peace is the protection.
Right. Exactly. Peace is it.
Yeah. Peace is
Say it again. Peace, y'all in the chat room, put in there, peace is the protection, please. Put it in there. I'm going back to my old confidence psychologist days. Come on.
If I'm now protecting my peace, that means I haven't internalized it yet.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to gain it. So I have to now protect really myself from acting out in a way that's not going to be healthy. Because peace passes all understanding.
Come on.
So that means I'm now walking more in a calmness. So even if you go off, it doesn't matter. I have peace on me. Go off. That's what you're going to do.
On me, in me, around me.
I don't have to move. The only way I move is if I'm not at peace. Because peace don't move. That's why Jesus said, peace, be still. Peace don't move. Come on. So if you're protecting your peace, that means it's a place in you that you have not tapped into yet. That you have to get yourself together to now be like, you know what, Jesus, I got to get it together. I'm not right. But we're so quick to be like, oh my God, I'm protecting my peace. I'm not talking to them no more. No, you're not talking to them no more because it's a part of you that gets disrupted when you speak to them and they make you move. That's why my parents used to tell me, my dad used to tell me this all the time. He'd be like, if you still going off like that, they're controlling you. The control of that individual's emotion, it still has them where they can leap when something happens.
Come on. Jump frog. Come on.
Abigail, it's your turn. Listen.
I totally agree. For someone to say that I'm protecting my peace, you're not at peace.
That's right.
You're not at peace.
And I know people are listening right now saying, doggone, how many times have I said I'm protecting my peace? And now they got to deal with the truth of the matter that they were not at peace. Right. And what was rising up. Keep going, Abigail.
Absolutely. So, and if you're not, so you're protecting your peace, you're not protecting your peace, you're protecting actually being able to deal with the emotions that you don't want to deal with.
Tell them the truth. Keep going.
So you're absolutely just trying to, you're ineffectively healing. You think you're healing, but you're not healing in
not full healing. They doing some faux healing.
Slow healing.
Slow, faux, ineffective healing.
Ineffective healing.
Y'all rude. How y'all gonna come on my show and just be rude to people? Y'all act like you know.
We're sorry. The
No,
truth hurts,
come on.
but it is only because we love you, and that we
Right.
want you to be healed.
Come
I
on,
feel as though the
Kelly.
Lord has really blessed the two of us, the three of
Yeah.
us,
Yes,
to be
Yeah.
able to reach his children, tell them the truth. And also sometimes, and we know, sometimes the truth hurts.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And tell them the truth. It's so funny. There's a friend of mine, long-standing friend, and hopefully they're listening because they'll know that it was them that told me this. There's a couple things that they told me, and one was as a teenager, they said, "Kat, it's important that you learn how to tell the truth with love."
Mhm.
Yes.
Right. And so it made me stop and think how I told the truth to people because the truth is important, but to tell them with love. Now, here's the thing. I have people who tell me all the time, Doc Walls, you're the only person that could say that to me because anybody else, I'd be ready to fight.
Oh,
But I know that you love
love
me
me.
Right.
and I know that you want the best for me.
Right.
Right, and that's it, right? The love has already been established,
Yes.
so therefore I'm not trying to hurt you. I only want what is good and
Mhm.
best for you. I don't even want anything from you. I want things for you.
That's
Right.
right.
And so you all are giving all the listeners the good for them, and you're telling them how to work through the honest pain and hurt and unforgiveness that is still there, as opposed to pretending that it's not there, right? And protecting your peace as if your peace is this, as opposed to your peace being this,
Right.
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Mhm.
Because once you are healed, then as Danielle and Abigail, you have said, you are moving in and with peace.
Right.
Peace is not a small thing. You
Mhm.
you are it. It embodies you. You and peace become one.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
yeah. Kelly says, this is good. I've always said for your safety and my sanity, leave me alone.
I'm not laughing at it's the delivery. It's the delivery.
It's,
Look,
it's
this was an effort to keep and protect my peace. So so you see what y'all are saying is hitting people real time.
Mhm.
And I claimed it at the top of the hour that this conversation was going to provide healing for people, gonna
Yes.
provide that clarity that people need so they can move through it. One of the things I want to highlight is, as we were talking earlier, I know some people are like, "Uh-oh, she done pulled the whiteboard out." I sure did. Is that in this timeline of life, right? We have various incidents that happen. And when we have some incidents that have caused us to experience a life event that triggers the need for us to employ forgiveness,
Mhm.
that becomes a spot for us to learn about this human experience called forgiveness
Mhm.
and learn about all that it consists of. Now, as you mentioned, sometimes we try to blow past it or act like it was only this big
Mhm.
instead of being its true size, right? We try to downplay things. We don't take honest inventory of all the ways in which we were hurt, violated, traumatized, and so forth. And so then we end up carrying it forward with us, but
Mhm.
yet we remain stunted
Mhm. Mhm.
and underdeveloped.
Mhm.
And until we are honest about all that consisted in this, we cannot wholeheartedly and emotionally, this is that emotional maturity,
Mhm.
right? Move forward
Right.
in with the rest of our life. Now, what happens is then when we have another life event that triggers something, we
Mhm.
then slide like a person wearing banana shoes on a
Michael
icy
Jackson.
hill. Yes,
Michael Jackson. You
yes,
moonwalking.
and we straight up moonwalk in fast backwards,
Right back
right?
and backwards.
Fast reverse to this moment here. And
Uh-huh.
we are no longer, let's say 45, we are now back to 15
Mm-hmm.
because we have not fully healed this space.
That
Mm-hmm.
Go
part.
ahead, Danielle.
That
Mm-hmm.
part. Yeah, that's really, that concept is actually right, because when we're moving to unforgiveness, I remember I was talking to this individual because I was reading this article and it said 70% of people do not trust.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime I actually am involved or I converse with someone who says they don't trust, I'm very conscious minded. I don't have to put protectors up. I just have to now discern, what's this person's story? That's what I
Mm-hmm.
do. What's this
Mm-hmm.
person's story? So as I begin to hear their story, I also am taking into my mind, because because they do not trust, I already know there's a part of them that's hurt, that they did not forgive.
Come
If a
on.
person says that they do not trust, I already know there's an offense that they are still challenged with. It may be a small box, but it's a box that could be magnified by a situation.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I have to move conscious minded with them, because I now need to know what their triggers are. I always tell people, when I meet someone, I usually meet them and I analyze the weak part of them before I really get to know the strong part of them,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because then I know where to help them at. I
Right.
can't be a real friend if I only know your strong parts.
Come on.
I
Come
need to
on.
know some of your weak points so I can be able to help you along the way, because that's what I consider a friend.
Mm-hmm.
That's my love
Mm-hmm.
language. This is my love language
Mm-hmm.
to you. I
Mm-hmm.
want to help
Yeah.
you come out of whatever you in.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
as friends, I just don't want to be able to be the collateral damage or the issue to whatever you're dealing with.
Yes.
So I'm conscious minded, because a lot of people don't trust, but they be like, oh, but I could be in a relationship. If you do not trust,
Come
Mm-hmm.
on.
it's going to be very hard for you to develop a healthy relationship, not only with individuals in, I call, the earthly zone, but
Yes.
even our Heavenly Father.
Well, here we
Because
go.
how can you trust God in the fullest potential of who God is
Mm-hmm.
if humanly you don't even know how to search to trust Him to get us through what we're going through?
Yes. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying not to distract people as they are taking all of that in.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Seriously,
it is the
how do
100%
you
true.
prosper in a
Mm-hmm.
healthy way? And you're saying, listen, I trust God to do what He says He's going to do, but
Yes.
yet you don't trust yourself
Come
for
on.
God to do what He's going to do.
Come
Mm-hmm.
on.
Gotta know it makes sense.
I
This
mean,
is why I feel like culturally, a lot of times, even in the spiritual sector, a lot of us still move in trusting, saying we trust God because it's what we use, but we don't look like what we're asking Him.
come on.
Mm-hmm.
Because in order to really trust God, you really have to have some time. Because at the end of the day, listen, God tests us to trust us.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't trust God, how can we really perform the real job?
Come on.
How can we reciprocate?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because He going to, again, forgiveness going to keep on forgiving. It's like
Mm-hmm.
life keep on life and forgiving keep on forgiving.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that keeps there's a test that's going to continuously happen. And it's just like trusting, where are you in life? Where do you want
Mm-hmm.
to go in life? Because
Yeah.
in order to go places in life, this is the crazy thing, you have to trust people, because God didn't mean for us to do this alone.
Come on. Come on.
So if you're not trusting people, but you saying you trust in God, you can't even trust the people that God put in your circle to help you get where you got to get, because you're too busy still not trusting.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
So you still in a box.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In a box.
I have so much to say, but I'm gonna pass the mic to Abigail first, and then I'll come through. Go
I
ahead.
guess, and just to piggyback off what Danielle, you're saying, Danielle, in regards to trust. And then if you don't have trust, then how can you have faith?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how can you have faith that through these situations that God is going to get you through if you don't trust?
Mm-hmm.
So having trust and faith, you know, is very important. And when you're going through the healing process, you got to have faith that, you know, what God said He's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes we're going to hold on to things and we think that we need to have revenge for things that have happened.
Right.
And we
Mhm.
wonder why, and the Lord's tell us to turn the other,
Mhm.
to turn the other cheek.
Mhm.
And that's one of the hardest things for us to do, is to be able to turn the other cheek.
Come on.
And so then how do you, so asking the Lord, how do I turn the other cheek? Why is it that I need to turn the other cheek?
Mhm.
Sometimes we need to turn the other cheek because it helps to prevent us from getting into situations that we can't get out of.
That's
When
right.
we retaliate against something,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I think
So
that's a great question for people to write down. How do I turn the other cheek?
mhm,
That's a real reflective moment. Go ahead,
yeah,
Abigail.
mhm. Yeah, so, and like I said, and turning the other cheek is also, again, like, you really got to have faith. You're sitting back waiting for God to invict karma on somebody.
Yes.
You're sitting back and you're waiting for the Mack truck to hit somebody
Come
because they
on.
hurt you.
Come on.
And you find yourself waiting so long. The
Yes.
Lord is taking too long. I'm just going to do it myself.
Yes.
And so then you really have to be able to have faith, give it to God, trust that He is going to take care of the situation, not
Yes.
just the person that may have harmed you, but He's
Yes.
taking care of you during that process as well.
That part, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Danielle.
The thing about revenge is
Mhm.
it never gives you your release.
Mm-mm.
Right.
So you can get revenge
Yeah.
and feel momentarily good. The
Maybe.
purpose of the
Mhm.
release is the permanence.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And when we put things, and when we're trying to when God says turn the other cheek, it's not only that this is again where trust comes from.
Come on.
Right.
When I turn the other cheek, I am now saying to God, I'm gonna let you deal with it. Let me put it in this perspective. If you have a brother and a sister, or a sister and sister, whichever one, and you go to your father and you tell your father, Dad, they offended me.
Mhm.
The first thing Dad is going to say, what did you do?
Mhm.
It's going to be more effective when you move yourself out of the situation for God to handle it, because now you don't have any consequences that go with it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
As soon as you put yourself into revenge mode, you now put yourself in the line of consequence.
Come on.
That's why it's for us to move out of it. And that's why vengeance is God's,
Mhm.
because we now allow God to do what He's going to do, because He doesn't want us to get hurt. We
Mhm.
already got hurt.
Mhm.
We already went through the offense.
Mhm.
But when we take matters into our own hands, then we make the offense even worse. Like it's like,
Compounded.
tick for tack with, we both gonna get beat now.
Right. Right.
As kids, you
Yeah.
go to now both of us getting beat.
Exactly.
I don't got time for that. I don't
That
even
don't
want
make
that type
any
of
sense.
smoke.
Right.
That's right. That's right. So I want to back up and give a visual to something that you said. I remember when I had a relationship that had come to an end that was very, very hurtful. And a friend of mine said to me, what I want you to do is I want you not to get in another relationship until you take the time to heal from this one. He said,
Right.
do that for yourself.
Right.
Right. And so I said, okay, I trusted this person. I took the words. I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And so as I began that healing journey, I remember saying, God, I turn to you in all things. I turn to you in the good times. I turn to you in the bad. I turn to you when I'm happy. I turn to you when I'm mad. Like I condition myself to go to God first at all times, when I'm confused, when I'm unknowing, and so forth.
Right.
And so, in that was when I came into the understanding of trust, because I would say that I trusted someone or I didn't trust someone. And then I would say, well, if you don't trust this person, then you don't trust God.
Mm.
And I had to have real conversation with myself about
Mhm.
that, right? Even so much, and I trained myself to think this way, even to the point of yesterday. I was dealing with some back pain, and I said, "What is this back pain about?" So then the what came up for me was support, not feeling proper support. So it was like, where and who don't I feel support from? And I said, you got to go to God, because this is about your relationship with God. See, without getting into the, I guess, the religious piece of the cross, when I look at the cross, it is about me and God and me and man.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is happening between me and God, if it's support, if it's trust, if it's whatever, it's going to show up in me and the human relationships.
That's right.
Right? So if I'm feeling this way here, I don't trust this person, then I have to go back here and clean up whatever's happening in this relationship. Go ahead, Danielle.
No, that's true. A lot of times, what I learned as a human being,
Yes.
we like to do God's job.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we get tested again with forgiving and trusting.
Yes.
So what happens is something can come up in a relationship that we love, or for someone who we love. And that could be our child, that could be our spouse, mother, father. And it could be something, and I'll tell you this from my own situation. I had to learn how to take inventory on myself.
Yes.
And speak to God about things that I felt alone with. Because this is where now I have to come out of the dependence of human to now to lean on God. I now have to say this. I'm alone in the human form. I'm going to be honest. I feel alone. But I have to now dig deep into my spiritual self and say, God, I need you to help me with this void.
Yes.
Because if not, it's going to frustrate me. It's going to bring in unhealthy emotions. And not only that, it's going to wallow over to now other relationships. And I don't need that to happen, because I want that person to do something that I want them to do that they cannot do. How about that?
And it leads to what? Disappointment, frustration.
You be all over the place. I don't. It just be all. You be all over, because the thing about it is, this is where, as the human part of us, we have to understand that the neglection we receive in the human form is God's way of saying, this is why you don't put trust in man. You're supposed to trust me. And that's why we have to release ourselves as far as the forgiveness, because that's us trusting God with our emotion.
Yeah.
We put our emotions into human, and let me tell you, you get caught up every time.
Well, you know what's interesting, as you're saying it, what's coming to me is it creates the setup. It creates the setup for practicing forgiveness, because you're establishing faux relationships that are inauthentic or unhealthy, that then cause you to become angry and frustrated, and life circumstances then happen for you now to work on this thing called forgiveness. Because every interaction doesn't yield an opportunity for forgiveness to come into play, but there are certain ones that activate this skill. And if we start to understand and look at forgiveness as a competency as opposed to a characteristic, then we start to look at it as something that we can work on and develop. And as Danielle, in your book, you have the 4 stages that people go through. Abigail, in your book, you have the 12 stages that people go through. These are skills that, from a human experience, we have the opportunity to increase our strength in this forgiveness space. Go ahead, Danielle.
It's just what I was going to say is, basically, we don't identify with the fruits of the spirit when we now go into those unhealthy emotions.
Come on,
and that's the part that God wants us to lean on, is those fruits.
Okay.
We have to, if we don't lean on to those fruits, then we come more into ourselves. And I'm being honest, it's hard.
Yeah.
Let me not act like, oh, because I'm saying what I'm saying, that it's easy. No, it's hard for all 3 of us, I promise you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's an everyday practice.
Come on.
Like, it's many of us, and this is the reason why I know that we came together for this specific forgiveness special, as I will
Yes.
call it, forgiveness special,
Mhm. Yeah.
because the holidays are coming up. There are going to be things that you are going to be reminded of, pain
Yes.
that you might be reminded of,
Yes.
because of, it might be that family member, or it might be that friend, that loss, or whatever. And you have to now go through the holidays
Come
with
on.
that mental
Come on.
that mental mind and them emotional instabilities.
Yes.
And what I know that what we're trying to come together and do is try to help those that are in that place, so the holidays are different. Even if that person doesn't come along, God, how do you want me to be? Where can I become free this year that I wasn't last year or the year before?
Mm.
That is the whole purpose of what we're trying to do right now,
Tonight.
because it's another holiday. We all go through during the holidays.
Yes. 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 Thank you. Thank you, Zora. Zora said, look, Zora said, please hit the like button. Yes. Zora. Yeah, like and subscribe. Thank you, Zora. Yes, please tell them. Tell them. Y'all follow directions and share.
Right.
Share this episode with people. I'm gonna pull Abigail up in a minute. I just want to underscore what Danielle said is we were looking to identify a time when we were going to do this show, because after Danielle's emotional maturity, go back and look at that one on the Planner's Knowledge podcast. Then we came on, had her on, we talked about forgiveness. After we talked about forgiveness, Dr. Wade overheard it. She said, oh, you got to meet Abigail. Talked with Abigail. Abigail came on Sisters for Harmony. So as y'all are looking at my different playlists, I'm telling you where to find these shows. Abigail talked about forgiveness. Danielle hit me up. She said, oh my goodness. I
Right.
said, okay, we got to bring the three of us together. Because again, I was getting emails, phone calls, it was just like people were like, oh my goodness, forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. I said, well, it's going to be the 70 times 7 episode. We're going to keep running it back to help people with this, right? Because it is something that we need. It is a part of the human experience.
Right.
And it triggers so much. And so as we were trying to identify when, we collectively said, oh, we got to have it before the holiday season, because people will be, as you mentioned, in the presence of some people who the forgiveness is not complete. Maybe it hasn't even started yet.
Right.
The stories that will come up that will trigger some old thoughts, feelings, hurts, wounds, scabs, whatever. And so it was like, what can we do collectively, right? We touch and agreed that we would come together to help people start this healing process. Danielle and Abigail, hold those books up, please. They have these books to help you start working through this process. No, you can't run through it over the weekend. It's not going to be over, but you can buy them before the weekend starts.
That's a fact.
And start working on it, knowing that you're working to it and through it. Go ahead, Abigail. What's top of mind for you?
So what's come to mind to me is I was just listening to Danielle talking about the holidays coming, and it's so important. And even like New Year's, when we talk about our New Year's resolution, and we think that the hurt and the pain that happened in last year or this year or the previous year, that we're not going to carry those weights with us. We're just going to let it go. But unless we actually do the work, and then understanding it's a process.
Yes.
And unless we actually do the work, start with, trying to figure out exactly what is the cause. Is it what's just happened, or is it something that happened 10 years ago?
Yes.
Start the healing process from there.
Yeah.
It is so important for us to be able, to get those, go in the right direction towards healing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we carry those same things into the next family dinner, into the next, holiday, the next year, until we're able to, be able to let that go. And the last time I was here, I did talk about how unforgiveness can affect us physically.
Yes.
And we talk about how it can lead to like cancer, diabetes, heart disease, things like that, when we're not healing properly and we're using those ineffective coping mechanisms. And the one thing I talked about was a book that was done by, I wanted to share this book because if anybody that's dealing with cancer and anybody that's knows someone dealing with cancer, I wanted to share this book. This is the book that I talked about.
Oh, yes, the Forgiveness Project. You sure
Forgiveness
did.
Project, and it's by Michael Berry. This
Yes.
is this is an excellent book. And it has stories in here about individuals that have gone through unforgiving issues that end up with, some chronic illnesses. So I just recommend this book to anyone. And it may just not even be, it can be used as a preventative thing. If I'm holding on to something that's unforgivable, that I feel as though it's unforgivable, where can it lead me? And what can I do to prevent ending up with some of these chronic illnesses?
Yeah,
so I recommend, this book for anyone interested.
Thank you. I'm gonna have to look. We're gonna have to reach out to him, see if we can get him to come on the show.
Right.
All right. If so, and I want to, just note here, Zora said, I can't thank you enough for the book recommendations. You're welcome. You're welcome. She had said early on, she said, I needed to hear this. So thank you for your transparency and sharing that. Seeing how we plug a book in my first book, The Greatest Soul Journey. And for people that don't know about the greatest stands for God restores excellence, activates talents, encourages spiritual transformation. And in that restoration piece, it's this whole idea of when we think about the concept of restoring something, you think about returning it back to its original position or condition. Many times people restore houses, buildings, cars, or furniture. The restoration is done in an attempt to bring back its original luster and shine, its original value. As you are going through this process, you are remembering who you are, your value, your worth. You are being restored. Take time to answer the following questions. And I asked questions like one that D-Law had asked and Abigail mentioned. Where in your life do you need to be restored? Right? Where in your life do you need forgiveness? What is that situation that you're working on? We talk about that power and the importance of what steps are you going to take? What steps do you need to take? You can do a gap analysis. Where are you now and where do you ideally want to be? And what are those steps to take you through it? I also highly recommend, and of course, I always have all types of stuff next to me. And for my children's books, I now have a set of journals. We encourage people to journal because a lot of times you're keeping it in your head, but you got to write it down, because when you're keeping it in your head, you can't fully comprehend all that's there, because your brain works in different sections. And if you're just working that working memory, which can only hold a small piece of information at a time, which is why back in the day when people used to give you their phone number, you would just repeat the phone number over and over and over again until you could write it down on a piece of paper, because you end up losing it. So now let's take this into the idea that I'm thinking about what I need to forgive. It's only going to hold so much information. But when you write it down in a book now, you can start, or type it out on the screen, you can now begin to see what you're working with. Old memories can come from the long-term memory and now be populated in your book, in your writing, so you can start to work things through. And you can also see what's linked and connected to those things, which allows you to start to see the patterns that Danielle was talking about early on in the show, that you are now behaving the same way with this person and this person in this environment and so forth. So now when you write it down, you can have these aha moments that you really can't have in your head, because the different parts of your brain can't hold it all at the same time. Go ahead, Danielle.
No, you're absolutely right. It's we adopt the hurt.
Yes.
Like people, we say that we get it's transferring. Go ahead, say what you're saying.
Yeah, I was just going to say, right. And then we get stuck, because here's the thing with the brain. When we start thinking things over and over again. I know y'all said, Lord, I didn't know I was coming to class tonight. Somebody should have warned you. When we start thinking the same things over and over again, it creates a groove in the brain, like a pothole.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so we're going along and we get triggered and we fall right into it. We're going along, we get triggered, we fall right into it. Right. And so until we start to retrain our brain,
Mm.
until we reprogram ourselves, we basically keep hitting a loop. We keep playing the same roles,
Mm.
and so we keep doing the same things. And if we think about it from an acting standpoint, I get my script, which gives me things to say, do, and behave, which then once I do that, it triggers somebody else to say their role. So if we go old school with different strokes, Willis would do what he did so that Arnold could say, what? What you talking about, Willis? Right?
Mm-hmm.
It was the role that they played. And if you remember, Gary Coleman got upset because he was now typecast. He stayed in that role, hence the box that you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we're saying, learn your patterns of behavior so
Right.
that you can stop tripping into your own valley and being married to the story that
Mm.
you have now begun to create as the only story that you can have.
That's good.
Go on,
That's good.
Danielle.
Now, I might want to pass this one to Abigail.
Go ahead.
I was going to say in regards to journaling, when you pull out
Yes,
your journals,
yes.
and I don't know if individuals really realize journaling is also a way of release. If you actually just take it out of your head, put it on paper, you've
Mhm.
actually released it in that
Yes,
moment. And to be
yes,
able to, and sometimes to be able to actually function, to be
yes.
able to go to sleep. I find myself, with something that was on my mind when I journaled,
Mm.
Mhm.
I actually was able to just fall right to
Yeah,
sleep,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
wow.
So I would say introduce journaling into your daily routine,
yeah.
to be able to just,
And sometimes my clients, oftentimes, they will say, I don't know how to journal, or where do I even start? And
Mm.
I say, start with that. Open
Mhm.
up the book and put, I don't know how to journal.
Right.
I don't know where to start. I
Mhm.
don't know what to write in this thing.
Mhm.
That's how you start. And then it will begin to flow out. And you will be
Yes.
surprised
Right.
at what rises up. And
Mhm.
so you just start to write about those things. What do I think about these things? What do I feel about these things? And to your point, Abigail, right? I tell my clients, brain dump. Just whatever rises, just get it out and get it down. And I understand different people's, diversity when it comes to writing. That's why I said some people, they may need to talk in text, right? You may talk and transcribe, but again, it's a way to get it out of yourself. We
Yes.
have gotten so conditioned to holding things in our
Mm.
head that it stays inside of us, and it causes health conditions. It causes stress. It causes ulcers. It causes problems with your gallbladder. It causes all
Mm.
types of things, mental illness. It causes
Mhm.
anxiety. It
Mhm.
causes depression. We see so many manifestations because we're connected mind, body, and spirit. It's not
Absolutely.
or, it's all
Connected.
together,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so one impacts the other. And sometimes people say, well, I don't see it. Well, initially, you don't see it because it's taking time to pull from other parts of your
Yes.
body in different ways.
Mhm.
Next thing you know, you don't have enough certain vitamins and minerals that you need. You now start to end up with brain fog. You're
Mm.
having difficulty sleeping because this stuff is staying on your mind. So either going to sleep or staying asleep, and or you're waking up not feeling rested.
Right.
Right.
So it impacts us in so many different ways. And I know we started with forgiveness and unforgiveness, but these are the health impacts: your mental health, your spiritual health,
Mhm.
and your physical health. I
Yeah.
see a couple comments I want to pull up Dr. Wade. Good evening. She says, I have personally experienced the freedom from the burden of stressful thoughts that are circulating in my mind and actually felt a physical shift from
Mm,
journaling.
mm,
Yeah. And I know for me, I didn't start journaling until I was well into adulthood. And it was because when I was younger, television shows used to show brothers stealing their sisters' diaries.
mhm.
And so I was like, mine ain't gonna get me. I'm gonna I'ma just hold it all in here.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I did for the longest time. And then finally I had to have a conversation with my younger self and a real conversation with my
Mm,
current self. Like, number one, they not living with you no more. So they ain't coming for your journal. Right?
right.
But this is where the younger self was still functioning and activated. It's like, girl, you 30 something years old. They all live in their own houses with their own wives. They are not coming for your
That
journal.
is
Have at
hilarious.
it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but we had to, I had to have that real conversation with myself. Go ahead, Danielle.
I what it is that the reason why I think journaling is so good is because a lot of times people don't want to talk it out.
Yes.
Mhm.
And because they don't want to talk it out, it's their own secret way of saying, this is how I feel.
Yes.
Um, and because we have been taught not to really speak out our emotions, that's why we held things in for so long.
Yes.
And we get to that place of not knowing because we don't talk about forgiveness in any sector, really.
No.
We don't really talk about forgiveness. Anytime there is unresolved hurt, there's unforgiveness there.
Come on.
Right.
We just are just saying we're hurt, but we're not really identifying the hurt with the offense.
Come
We're
on.
just saying we're hurt.
Mhm.
Yes.
But when you begin to identify the hurt with the offense, it's really unforgiveness that has settled because you
Mm-hmm.
have not released the pain.
Mm.
And by journaling it out, if you cannot articulate it out, because some people don't like talking, some people feel funny talking about their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't
Mm-hmm.
even know how to deal with emotions on a
Mhm.
level where they feel comfortable enough, even with themselves by themselves,
Yeah.
even say, this is how I feel, because they held it in so long that they now feel awkward speaking about their feelings. Because I don't
Yeah.
always want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Those conversations. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And right to the point of even knowing the different feelings that you feel.
Yeah.
And so, you and I were talking about a feelings chart. What was that,
Yes.
earlier this week, last week?
It
Right.
was earlier this week, I think. Yes.
Yeah. And so rarely, and I would like people to stop and really think about it, where have you been taught about your feelings beyond Sesame Street?
Mhm.
Mm, that's good.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Unless you went to some sort of counseling group, you were not given a feelings vocabulary
Mhm.
or opportunities to really authentically identify your feelings. It is something that many of us have been left to do on our own and discover on our own. And it is the rare person that goes beyond happy, mad, sad, and glad. And usually most people try to cover up. And when you ask them how you're feeling, they say, I'm okay. I am here to tell you, okay is not a feeling.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, and then infamous, and I'll say culture specific because generally I have heard it within the African American culture. When asked, how are you feeling? They say, I'm feeling some type of way. I don't know if that's
Right.
specific to Philly. I don't know if that's beyond, but I am the one to say, and what type of way is that?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Because you have to identify what these feelings are. You have to know what these feelings feel like to you and for you. So when they are triggered, you know how to respond to them. Now, this is emotional maturity. That's Danielle's book. You definitely want to look and grow and work through that. We need classes on it, we need practice on it. I see Leanne said that she would rather write.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Leanne.
Right. So it is important for each of us to discover what works for us
Mhm.
and know that we may have a variety. There
Right.
are times when writing is it, there are times when talking about it is it, and then writing comes next. There's times we're speaking it into, an app or so forth. Is it? And it transcribes, and you get a chance to look at it. But it is, to Abigail's point, it is a release
Mhm.
that happens. So then, therefore, your body, your immune system,
Yes.
your central nervous system, right, can experience relief.
Yes.
Now, what happens is, because many of us have been moving in this way for so long, it has become a habit for us to stay in a stressed space.
Mhm.
And this goes back to Danielle's point. We don't even know what peace feels like, and we don't even allow peace to embody us,
Mhm.
because we've gotten so used to feeling stress that when we feel peace, it is now foreign.
Yes.
Mhm.
And we're here tonight to let you know, one, peace is possible. So put in the chat room, peace is possible.
Yes.
All right. And to encourage you to really identify where forgiveness still needs to happen externally between
Yes.
you and someone else, and internally with yourself.
Mhm.
Because many times that unforgiveness is about you not forgiving yourself for
Mhm.
having made decisions
Mhm.
that you knew and or felt were not the best decisions for you to make, but you made them anyway.
Mhm.
Facts. That's good.
So, all right.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and it is okay for you to now stop and forgive yourself in whatever age you need forgiven. Because as you stand today, whatever age you are the culmination of every age that you have ever been.
Mm.
So if you need to turn to your 8-year-old self and say, girl, I forgive you
Yes.
for dot, 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 then you say that to
Mhm.
yourself.
Right.
And you will feel a release and a relief inside of your being. And if those tears need to come for that 8-year-old self that felt unheard, that felt unseen, that felt violated, that felt hurt, that was traumatized, that is
Mhm.
fine. Give yourself that gift of
Right.
forgiveness to self. Abigail, something you'd like to say?
I would like to say, in when we're dealing with our feelings, and sometimes we don't like to identify, what those feelings are. Um, know that it's okay to say what you're feeling. Know that it's okay to feel what you're feeling.
Yes.
Hmm.
Sometimes we may feel something and we try to block it out
Yeah.
because
Mm.
we don't really want to deal with it. But it's okay to deal with it, because that's when you start to begin the healing process, is when you really are able to acknowledge what you're feeling and identify
Yeah.
exactly what that is.
Yeah.
And this is just, I'm just so thankful that we're doing this tonight. This is really good, and I hope
Mhm.
that individuals are helped by it, and
Hmm.
they truly do understand, like, there are benefits to being able to let go.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a fear of
Yes.
the unknown, and so
Yes.
then we tend to stay in that place of hurt, because this is where, or anger and resentment, because this is what's comfortable, and then we move through life carrying that, chip on our shoulder,
That's right.
that prevents us from being able to live healthy.
Come
So
on.
I think it's just very important for us to realize that peace is possible, and you deserve peace.
Yes. And
You
as you said, right, people, you get used to, sometimes I don't know if it's that it's comfortable or that is familiar,
Mhm.
right? You get
Mhm.
used to walking like this because you got
Right.
that chip on your shoulder, right? You ain't comfortable or cute in that moment, right?
Mhm.
So, but we get
Me
used
too.
to it, and then
Mm.
we wonder what would life look like without it.
Right.
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 And I think that's a good thing. We have
Mhm.
to wonder, what would life look like without it? If you were to wake up tomorrow and everyone, including self, that needed to be forgiven, what would life look like?
Right.
What
Mm.
would it feel like?
What do you feel like? Yeah.
Right. I had somebody recently tell me that they couldn't do that because then life would be boring. I said, well, then you're going to constantly have disruption.
Right.
Oh, it was that level of toxicity they still needed.
That-
Oof.
Mhm.
Right.
Yikes.
So we got to check with ourselves. In all of my various interesting research throughout life, rats eat poisonous, toxic foods. If rats eat something healthy, they will die.
My God, for real?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Learn something
Okay.
new every day.
So, how many of us are continuing to eat like a rat?
Mm.
See, I can come on my show and be rude. So, right, how many?
That was
How many
good.
of us are
That
still
was good.
inviting toxicity and trauma and drama,
Mhm.
right? Lower forms of trauma called drama into our lives to activate this familiarity that we are calling comfort. That's faux comfort,
Mhm.
right? It's just familiar.
Mhm.
The same way we call dysfunction functional. Just because function is in the word dysfunctional, don't make it functional.
Mhm.
Right.
All right.
Right.
It might have served a purpose at one time, but it no longer serves a purpose. So, this whole idea of taking honest inventory of where we are now, as well as where we want to go.
Mhm.
And when you're
Yes.
doing it, you may be recognize that there are certain relationships that are a trip hazard and
Mm.
they're constantly causing you to repeat these things, feel these things. And so then, therefore, you may need to. One of my most favorite quotes of all times is from the movie Tombstone by the character Doc Holliday, who looks at someone who he was associated with, who he used to be a scoundrel with. When he decided to live on the right side of the law, he turned to the person and said, well, darling, it is time for us to redefine the nature of our association.
Mm.
And we never saw that character again.
Mm.
That's it.
Okay. So there are some relationships where you must redefine the nature of
Yes.
your association. And that's the reassociation with the person relationship, with the belief relationship, with the idea relationship, with the behavior relationship, right? Because we have a relationship with all of these different things. So we started off the show talking about what is our definition of forgiveness. You really need to take a look at that. And then you need to take a look at what have you been taught
Yes.
about
Mhm.
forgiveness,
Mhm. If
right?
anything.
If if anything, because
Mhm.
so many times I did a lot of work in schools, kindergarten classes, bap, say you're sorry. So I said, I'm sorry. I forgive you for what? What are you forgiving?
Right.
What are you sorry about? Go ahead,
Mhm.
Danielle.
But this is for another show.
Of course.
Like
Okay.
this one before another show.
Yes.
But what I've learned also with forgiveness, it also goes with our attachment style.
Come on.
Mhm.
So whatever your attachment style that you learned growing up, you emulate it.
Yep.
So if you have anxious avoidant style, there's going to
Yes.
be a certain way that you forgive. If you have fearful avoidant or you disorganized
Yes.
attachment style, all these are going to play into how you're going to actually forgive. The main
Mhm.
goal is to get to secure attachment
Come
style.
on.
Mhm.
But however we were raised is
Yes.
how we actually learn
Yes.
how we actually going to forgive because
That's right.
nobody talked about it.
That's right. And to your point, right, the goal is to get to that secure attachment style. So although you may have been raised one way,
Mhm.
it doesn't mean you stay that way. You
Correct.
will have to work to get to that point,
Yes.
right? And you'll be working through different life events which will test you,
Right.
try you, pop quiz you, and give you practice so that you can achieve the goals that you actually desire for self.
Yep.
All right, y'all. Well, we gave them a little bit. Abigail, I'm going to turn to you first. Any closing words that you would like to say to the audience? And also be sure to let them know how they can get in contact with you. If
Mhm.
there's any giveaway that you might have,
Yes.
and where they can get your book.
Okay. So my closing remarks would be that truly understanding, um, would just want everybody to really understand the importance of forgiveness,
Mhm.
Yes.
and how crucial it is for you, and beneficial it is for you. But you have to want it. I had an individual to speak to me, and I was doing something. I think I was working in my book, and they said to me, "What are you doing? What are you one of those?" And I told them what I did, and they said, "Oh, no, I don't want to deal with that. I'm fine. I like being in this space. I like holding on to things." So you have to want it. Even though we've come on and we've talked to you and we've given you benefits, you have to really be able to determine that the process, that you're willing to do the work, and that it is a process. Even though we've come on tonight and we've talked to you about the benefits, we talked to you about the different styles and all that, you actually have to be willing to do the work, and understanding that our time is not God's time. And where we think that, you could leave here tonight and I'm thinking, oh, I'm healed. What has been bothering you could be right back sitting on your table in front of you tomorrow.
Yes.
So being able to, we're here because we want you to be able to reach out to us. We've been through some things, and I think that the Lord has really blessed us with the tools that we have, and that we are, and I know myself am ready to just continue to share those tools with individuals.
I'm glad, before you jump, I'm glad that you said that, right? This show may trigger things to rise up. That's important for people to know. And that when they rise up, utilize the strategies, replay this episode, get these books, so that you can start working through it. If you need to, enlist the help of a therapist, a life coach. We have some life coaches here as well. You can use your insurance or wherever. There, utilize it to work through it. Your life does not have to consist of this unforgiveness bag that you continue to carry on. I want to give a quick shout out to my girlfriend April. So they just let me know they were watching. So hey, April. All right, go ahead, Abigail. Share the rest of what you have.
So my giveaway tonight would be that I am a forgiveness coach. And the steps that I don't think I mentioned all of the steps, all 12 of them, but the steps that I actually have, I actually coach individuals on how to heal and how to get through a place of forgiveness. It's not an easy process. And sometimes it takes individuals longer than others. So I am giving away a 3-week coaching.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Y'all better get you some. How they get it?
So the first person that emails me at forgivinggifts@gmail.com, then you will receive a 3-week coaching session on forgiveness with me.
That's awesome.
What they need to do again, I'm going to tell them one more time. I ain't typing it out for them. That's on them. Go ahead.
You need to email me at forgivinggifts@gmail.com, and I will respond to you, and then we begin the process of the coaching, the free coaching for 3 weeks, to be able to get you the healing and the release that you need and also deserve, because you deserve to just live in peace. We're here for a purpose, and sometimes we don't realize what that purpose or even get to that purpose because we're holding on to things that we just can't seem to let go of.
Come on.
I love it.
Okay.
Thank you,
And my book again, Purposeful Healing, and it is available on Amazon.
Fantastic. And social media handles, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Forgiving Gifts on Facebook and Instagram, and then Purposeful Healing also on Facebook.
Fantastic. And I do believe on the Ask Dr. Walls 525 YouTube Side of Life, I do believe those links are in the write-up. If not, I will go back after the show and make sure they're in there. Thank you, Abigail. That was very generous and kind to you. Yes. So see, look at y'all. It wasn't just tricks today. You got some treats.
That's right. We did.
Okay. All right, Danielle, what you got, D-Law?
So what I will leave with you is this. I will leave you with a question. Is how is unforgiving costing you beyond the offense? How much more is it costing you? And that is what you have to ask yourself. And how much longer do you want that offense to take over your life? Are you ready to live a free life? Are you ready to come out of wherever you are right now, the pain that you've been through, the pain that you've experienced, and say, today, I don't want to be at that place no more. And as Abigail said, it's going to take work. You can have a coach. We can coach you till we are blue in the face. But if the work is not done from you, it will not be successful, because it's you that has to come through it. We can lead you to the end, but
Yeah.
only you can take yourself through the end.
Yeah.
So I will leave you with that question, because my whole purpose, and I believe all three of our purposes today, was to get people to start getting that will in the mind to start saying, I don't want to be here no more.
Come on.
We
Mhm.
want you to be free. And that is all that we want to, for you to do.
Yeah.
Start getting into the mindset of saying, listen, I don't have to be here. And I
Yeah.
know what it sounds like. I know what it heard like. I received some processes today of how I can get through it. Number one, pray about it. And
Mhm.
as you begin to pray, God will then begin to guide you and heal you wherever you need to be healed. And then he'll give you the ability to get that peace so you can begin to pray for the offense.
Mm-hmm.
So now you could get that compassion and the understanding a little bit more. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have what Abigail had, but I am going to say I will give away a book today.
Come on, we take a book. What they
We're
need
gonna
to
give
do to
away a
get the
book today.
book?
Now, to give away a book. Well, who was the first person on here? Do you have who the first person was on
Let
here?
me see. I don't know who the first person is because
All
some
right, well,
people
listen.
write in the chat and some people don't.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the same thing Abigail said. The first person that emails me at talkrealnessd@gmail.com. I'm going to send you to the Gmail.
Mm-hmm.
Talkrealnessd@gmail.com and say number one, because that's what you are. Number one. That's what you are. And whoever gets to that specific one first,
Yes.
that is who is going to get a book.
Love it.
But I do want to say that I will be starting a workshop tomorrow. It's going to be at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a virtual, also virtual. If anyone wants to get into that specific room, it's going to be for 5 days. I'm going to actually be taking pages from my book
Mm-hmm.
in order to begin the process of emotional management. You can also contact me on IG at DLaws Code, and also on Facebook, Danielle Lawrence. Those are the two places that you can get in contact with me. And if you are looking for any further information, you can always log on to my website, www.love-because.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me put that in. You said love-because.com.
Yes.
All right.
And I think I forgot to mention my website too. And
Please.
it's my website is forgivinggiftswellness.com.
Okay. And again, most of those, they're usually in the YouTube write up. So please take a look in there as well. And if they're not there, I'll make sure I add that in there. Um, Danielle, when you said, how much is unforgiveness costing you? My mind went to people are paying a subscription fee every day,
Mm-hmm.
not even a monthly subscription, a daily subscription as you continue to hold on to the unforgiveness.
It's storage that needs to be
Mm,
let go.
mm. That's more
Not
than a terabyte.
We don't need to use it no more.
Mm-hmm.
Let it go.
Wow.
Right. And
Wow.
unforgiveness, it doesn't, and when you forgive someone, it doesn't give them a pass. It doesn't
Mm,
mean that the offense was, that what they did was right.
come
The
on.
forgiveness is for you. So it's
Yes.
your
Right.
freedom to be able to let go.
Yeah. Tell them again, Abigail. Tell them again.
When you forgive someone, it is your freedom to be able to let go.
Mm.
It does not mean that what they did to you and that they were correct, because sometimes we seem to think that if we forgive them, then what they did was correct. That what they did was okay. That's
Mm-hmm.
not what forgiveness means. It means
Mm-hmm.
it's your release to the situation so that you can get free
That's
and
right.
be able to move forward.
That's right.
Right.
Fantastic.
Right.
Fantastic. So yeah, so you hold your books up again so that they know when they recognize them, please. There you go. Y'all know what to get for yourselves. There are some people in your lives that you know would benefit from this. All right, they got it.
Mhm.
You know they would benefit from it. It is the holiday season coming up. Those are some gifts. Gift to self, gift to others. It is good. And even gift to them to support these two women who have taken their life learnings, their messages, and put them in books to help people move forward. So just even to support. is also a benefit as well. We got some people, they said, now that's a word. Others said, great words tonight. Thank y'all for joining. And Kelly's from Mississippi. And Zara says, you all are godsend. Thank you, Dr. Kathleen Walsh, for recommending journaling. Thank you, Abigail, for the Forgiveness Project book. And thank you, Danielle Lawrence, for the Emotional Maturity book. You are most welcome. And y'all know I have a whole library of stuff. Like I said, I created these journals recently. So we have my thoughts and my dreams as well. Because sometimes when we're journaling, we just want one that focuses on our thoughts and our feelings, right? And then we want one that focuses on our daydreams as well as the dreams that we have at night, because forgiveness sometimes is worked through the subconscious and the unconscious, and that can happen at nighttime. But it's important, like I said, to capture that. D-Log, were you going to say something?
No. I was actually just looking at all the journals.
Oh, well, let me show them to you again.
Please do.
And there's also one with Froggy T on the front. That one is live on Amazon. So I just haven't received my copies yet because I just published it. So,
aren't you fancy?
You know what I mean.
Can we see the inside of one?
Say it again.
Can we see the inside of one?
Of course you can. All right. So, and what I did was, so it says my thoughts, just as your prompt. There's some with the lines because some people like to write with lines, and then there's blank because some people like to write blank and or like to draw. So
that's awesome.
I wanted no excuses. Right. And so there are 100 pages. So it gives you a good amount of writing and reflecting to do. So these say my thoughts, and then the dream journal ones say my dreams.
I like that.
Okay. So there you are. And then as far as my other books, as I showed you, The Greatest Soul Journey. Yes, I am over here with a library, y'all, of my own. The Greatest Soul Journey, which is a workbook style journal, which takes you through the greatest model. And again, the greatest is God restores excellence, activates talents, encourages spiritual transformation. And then there is Live by the Spirit, which is also a workbook style journal where I give you food for thought and then give you space to reflect as well. All right. Because so many times we're hearing things in the moment. And again, we say we're going to hold on to it, but life continues to happen and we forget. Right. And then we had this golden nugget that now we can't find anymore. At least if it's right here in the book, you can reflect back on it. And then I have my Froggy T and Bunny, my Adventures of Froggy T and Bunny. So there they go. So there's the reunion. There's Bunny Gets Bullied. There's Careless, Clueless Colt. Feeling Feelings, which we'll have to do an episode about that. And then Froggy Foo and Mungu. And usually ages 5 and up for all of my books. And then for my little people, I have a coloring and activity book. And so I would say my 3 and my 4-year-olds love it because, of course, they're scribbling. But it also goes up to, I would say, probably about 6 or 7 once they get past that, because there are some activities in there as well. But I would say this is really for the younger ones. But the books itself also come with a glossary at the end and processing questions.
That's good.
Right. And activities. And they work great for conversation starters, but also for self-awareness and self-reflection. And one of the things that's great about the books is that they all rhyme. And so finding the rhyming pattern helps build fluency, vocabulary, and predictability. And so siblings end up learning the story and then we'll read it to the younger ones. So they're books that create conversations and connections. So
very good.
That's good.
Hey, look at all these treats. So with all of that being said and all these giveaways, y'all have options. So you got coaching coming from Abigail, 3 weeks worth nonetheless. You have a book coming from Danielle. And then we got some options here with me. So I had to decide what I want to give y'all, trick or treat. So I'm going to say treat. I would say y'all can, we're going to go again with the first person to, I'm going to do a journal. That's what I'm going
That's
to do.
good.
I'm going to do a journal. And so I'm going to say the third person. The third
Ooh.
person
Nice. Okay.
to
All right, let's do
email
something
me.
different.
Okay. And
Let's do
so
something different.
my the third person to email me will be the one that receives the journal, and we'll decide which journal it is. And my best email is going to be kwalls at askdrwalls.com. kwalls at askdrwalls.com. And that's ASKDRWALLS. And the best way to get in contact with me is via that email, or you can always just go to my website at askdrwalls.com, ASKDRWALLS, and all of my handles, TikTok, Instagram, everything is Ask Dr. Walls. YouTube is the only one that's Ask Dr. Walls 525. All right. Leslie says, I am following Miss Abigail. Um, okay, so we're good. All right, y'all. Be sure to subscribe to Ask Dr. Walls 525 on YouTube. I have a lot of shows coming up between now and the end of the year. Y'all know I support authors, making sure their words get out. I think it's important that books are bought and given. I believe that books hold treasures, what I call greater seeds, so that, right, these are the seeds that God has given us that plant inside of us. Hence why my publishing company is called Planter's Knowledge. God plants these seeds inside of us, and they can reap a tremendous harvest if we do the work.
Right.
And the work is opening the book, reading the book, and and doing
Yeah,
what
yeah.
comes next. Go ahead, Danielle. Excuse me.
Oh no, I was going to say that's exactly what it is. You have to do the work. You have to open
Yeah,
up the books. You have to get that sometimes get that constructive criticism from someone you
yeah,
love, so
yeah,
you can know where you need to get corrected at.
yeah.
And it's basic, and it's always someone you love, someone that you know that is coming from a place of love and not
That's right.
criticism.
That's right. You know, I think about the scripture when you just said that we always have to do the work. There's this scripture where the man is by the water and he talks about the angels are rustling the water
Mhm.
and everybody's going down into the water to get healed. And Jesus is like, well, why are you sitting here? And he was like, I can't get down there. And Jesus says, well, pick up your mat, like walk, like you
Yeah.
gotta, like you
Get
gotta
up.
do what? Get up, right? So James Brown said, get on up. So, right, get up. It's time to do the work. That's
Mhm.
right. Zora says iron sharpens iron. That's
Right.
right. That's right. And trust and know that you will receive all of these different messages when you are supposed to receive them. Tonight, there are people on the show who I hadn't met before. You're here for this reason, to receive it for yourself and or to share it with others. Like I said, we watched how it trickled. It started with me and Danielle meeting at an event in the summertime,
Yeah.
right? And we just vibed off of each other. And then somebody watched the show, Dr. Wade, excuse me, watched the show. And she then thought about Abigail and she connected me to Abigail. And then Danielle watched the show with Abigail. And then it was like, okay. And it's this ripple effect. So that's how we know, right? We say God's hand,
Yes.
God's moving hand and unchanging hand, and that desire for freedom. So we know that peace is possible, and we know that peace is the protection. So we got our sound bites for tonight. Y'all take it, y'all go with it, get your coaching, get your books, do the work, subscribe to the channel. And like I said, I got a lot of shows coming up. I don't want you to miss them. Every single show that I do is designed to inspire, to educate, and prayerfully there'll be a healing component in there.
Yes.
All right. And to
Mhm.
empower you all. So nothing but treats tonight, no tricks. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You all be well, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. And as always, God bless and continue to live your greatest life. See y'all
Amen.
next time. Bye. Thank you. Thank y'all.
You're welcome. Thank you.